Welcome to the Love Doc Podcast. I'm your co-host, Raina Butcher, here with our host, the founder and CEO of the Love Doc Relationship Coaching Services, Dr. Sarah Hensley.
Hey.
Hey, what's up?
Oh, not much. I have leather pants on.
I know, Ross Geller.
I know. Every time I move, it's like, and it just makes me think of Ross Geller. Dawn and I were laughing so hard about the lotion and the powder has made a paste.
It's one of my favorite episodes
that is
ever.
So hilarious. We are such huge Friends fans. We're so nerdy with that show, and we have so many. But you're the only person I have in my life that gets it.
Yeah.
Like I'll say something and you'll laugh because you'll know where it came from.
I can relate pretty much any circumstance in life to a Friends episode. You know, and everybody kind of has that. Like Josh, he can relate anything in life to like a Simpsons episode or a Seinfeld episode.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Donald loves Seinfeld. Yes. Yeah. And when I used to teach Psych 101 at Berea College many, many years ago, I would introduce every class with a clip of Friends that somehow matched the topic of what we were talking about that day. So whatever psychological theory, I could somehow find it within Friends.
Of course you can.
And it was funny. I think the students really enjoyed it.
I love that. I didn't know. See, I learned something new about you every time we do the podcast.
I know. Because we never get to hang out outside of work.
No, I know. I know. But something we do know about each other is that we're both former FAs. And so today we are going to talk about the pain of the FA.
Yes,
that we're both very familiar with.
The pain of the fearful avoidant. Since we did an episode on the pain of the dismissive avoidant, I don't want to leave the other two attachment styles out.
Yeah.
So today's episode is going to be on the pain of the fearful avoidant, which is very dynamic pain because it comes in a lot of different facets for the FA. The FA has the most pain of all attachment styles because they had the most significant childhood trauma. So just to dig back in to the FA in general, we did an episode on the FA, I think in season 1. Mm-hmm. So a lot of our listeners may not have backtracked and listened to that episode. So let's just do a quick summary.
It's always helpful.
Yeah, it is. The fearful avoidant has childhood trauma. Most of the time it's big T, childhood trauma. So the most common ones that I see in my practice are abandonment of a parent. So it might be that parents split up in childhood and maybe dad just went away, moved to a different state or something like that. Or maybe one of the parents just wasn't in the child's life at all or very, very minimally. Death of a parent in childhood, exposure to abuse that occurred inside or outside of the home. Most of the time it was inside of the home. Sometimes there's sexual abuse outside of the home. A parent with a substance abuse disorder that obviously created a lot of dysfunction in the family. A parent with a mental illness that created dysfunction in the family. Those are sort of the big ones that I see. So the bigger the trauma and the longer the trauma goes on, the more severe the fearful avoidance. There's this direct correlation between that. So we do see smaller T traumas, or what we call little T traumas, that can create fearful avoidance. The ones that I see are someone maybe who experienced some very significant bullying in school and parents just didn't handle it very well, or a family, like maybe a military family that had to move around a lot. I had somebody the other day who went to 17 different schools.
Oof. That's
17
rough.
Different schools.
Yeah, that is rough.
In their childhood.
You can't ever really form lasting
form friendships.
Relationships.
And so there's no sense of stability and no sense of stability within the family unit either because you're constantly picking up and moving. And so that can be a significant trauma. It's a littler T trauma. It's not the same as, abuse, but it can cause enough instability that, trust within the safety of your home and in your family unit is disrupted.
Yeah.
And so what happens when you have this type of trauma? Well, the child looks at the dysfunctional parent or parents. And I should mention another big T trauma is when the parental unit is somehow very dysfunctional.
They fight a lot.
Fight a lot of really bad fighting. This is where some of the abuse stuff can come in, where maybe there's domestic violence or just a lot of verbal abuse. Maybe kids are really caught in the middle and there's a nasty divorce. That can end up being a pretty big T trauma as well. You look at those parents and you go, yeah, you can't love me in a way that feels good. You're not capable. You have too much of your own crap.
And this is the subconscious,
This is
right?
the subconscious of the fearful avoidant, for sure. And then what gets imprinted into the subconscious mind is betrayal. Well, you betrayed me by not loving me as my parent because you're supposed to love me as my parent. So even little children, if you ask a child, and I've said this before, but we'll repeat it, whatever. If you ask a little child, like go up to a 3-year-old and go, what is a family? And they'll usually say it's a mommy and a daddy and a baby. And the mommy and daddy love each other and they love the baby. They'll say something like that. And that's called a schema. A schema is sort of an idea of how something is supposed to look or how something is supposed to go. And so when that schema that we get from a lot from culture does not really match what we see in our family, it feels like a betrayal. I don't think my husband would care if I shared this, but he said, I used to watch like the Andy Griffith show and I used to get really sad because his dad wasn't in his life. He saw his dad like once, maybe twice a year. His dad was just absent. And he would say, I just wanted that so much. I wanted that family, that mom and that dad and just that family unit. And I was so dedicated to the idea that someday when I had kids, I was going to be there for my kids. And I was never going to abandon my kids the way my dad abandoned me. And so when children have these experiences, and for me, it was a dysfunctional, mentally ill father. My father was very mentally ill. And his mental illness affected how he treated us. Obviously, he was kind of unpredictable, rage. Then he would check out. He was bipolar. Yeah. So it was a lot of up and it was a lot of roller coaster.
Yeah, I had a lot of that too with my mom.
Yeah. And he couldn't hold a job. So there was a lot of instability financially for my family. You look at this caregiver and you're like, if you can't love me in a way that feels good, whoever could? Because you're supposed to love me. You're my daddy. Yeah. You're supposed to love me.
Yeah.
And then so there's this betrayal wound of like, you've betrayed me by not loving me. And because the dysfunction is so painful, love gets intertwined with pain in the subconscious. So love and pain kind of become enmeshed. It's like love and pain are the different sides of the same coin.
Yeah, it makes me want to cry.
I know, it's very sad. It is very sad.
Yeah.
And the people that I talk to with fearful avoidant attachment have deeply traumatic childhoods. Some of the things I hear, I'm getting chills right now just because my nervous system is sort of responding to what I'm thinking about right now. I can't even fathom being a children in some of these homes that I hear about. I hear about unconscionable things.
I can only
and
imagine.
I think about my children and I think about, especially my oldest daughter, what her dad put us through from the beginning to his death. And I get incredibly sad. And she gets incredibly sad and we work through it. But the pain is so immense. And I think that parents are so caught up in their stress and their dysfunction and their mental illness or their substance abuse or whatever it is, their bad marriage, and they just can't seem to deeply realize how much it's going to affect their children and their children's future happiness. Because if who we marry is the biggest predictor of our happiness and success in life, you're setting them up for failure when you create that environment. And that's why sometimes a divorce is the right answer, unfortunately, because parents need at least one secure caregiver. And you might not be able to earn your security inside of an extremely dysfunctional marriage.
I know I was a way better parent once I left my relationship.
Way better parent. And I am the best parent now that I am in a healthy relationship.
For sure.
I'm the best version of myself. And I'm so thankful for my husband. But these children that come from these families, forever rooted in their subconscious is this, well, I won't say forever until they do the work, is this idea that love is pain and pain is love. And of course, if the subconscious believes that love is pain, you will either seek out someone that creates pain for you to love, or you will create the pain in the relationship. Usually it's a combination of both. You're seeking out someone who will betray you, and you will betray yourself over and over again inside of that relationship.
Or you create betrayal where betrayal doesn't even exist.
Betrayal where betrayal does not exist. So the filter of the fearful avoidant is one of betrayal. And what does that mean? It just means that we all have a filter based on our attachment style for how we view our partner, ourselves, and our relationship. So if your filter is betrayal, you are biased toward seeing the betrayals in your relationship. And a lot of people think betrayal means just cheating. It does not. For a fearful avoidant, their deepest need is to be understood because they never felt seen by their caregivers. Their caregivers were so caught up in the dysfunction. They couldn't attune to their children properly.
Right.
They were attuning dysfunctionally if they were attuning with too much anger or frustration or misattuning, not attuning at all. And so we can have some inconsistent reinforcement there. And we've talked about that principle a lot and how it creates anxiety and addiction, as well as emotional neglect. So it's this mix. That's why they end up with both attachment anxiety and attachment avoidance. Because think about how somebody who, say, is an alcoholic might treat their children. They might have moments where they're sort of like getting buzzed and they're happy. And then they're like ooey gooey, attuning to their children and being really soft and loving and fun. And then they get drunk and then they get mean.
And then they come down.
And then they come down hard.
Yeah.
Or they pass out and they're absent. So we have this mix of intermittent reinforcement where sometimes the need is met, coupled with neglect, coupled with emotional trauma. And that creates
the perfect storm.
A very chaotic nervous system, a very chaotic inner world.
Yeah.
And the inner world of fearful avoidance is extremely chaotic. Their inner world is a roller coaster. It also creates not just the capacity for having anxious attachment and avoidant attachment and the ability to flip-flop from being anxious and avoidant in any given moment. Fearful avoidance, this is interesting. Let's dive into this first. They have this anxious side, they have this avoidant side, but they tend to have like a home base. So they tend to sort of be more on the anxious side or more on the avoidant side, but they react in opposition to partner. So essentially they're trying to get as much connection as possible while avoiding as much pain as possible. And that's really difficult to do.
Yeah, it sounds like quite the paradox.
It is.
Yeah.
Because to maintain connection, you have to move through painful points in your relationship. Conflict creates intimacy. And especially
pain.
When, and pain. But if it's done right, if you repair it correctly, it builds more trust. It creates more deeper intimacy.
For sure.
So the fearful avoidant is trying to do this dance where it's like, I want to really have you and I want to have this deep connection, but the moment that I sense that there might be betrayal, I can really pull back. But then once there's too much space, I might get anxious again and come back. My pattern and what I would do over and over and over and over again in relationships was I would get hurt or I would feel overwhelmed, which are two very avoidant, experiences. And I would break up with somebody very abruptly.
Same.
And then give me a few days and I would be an anxious mess, completely regretting my decision, begging them to come back. And then, of course, once you break up with somebody, the trust is broken. They can't trust you if you just break up with them on a dime.
Right.
And then if they wouldn't take me back, then I would just ruminate and I would be anxious and I would be devastated. And then I would try to Band-Aid it with just trying to find a new partner as quickly as possible.
Yeah. Or I'd get really reactive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Usually I was reactive in the breakup.
Yeah.
Very reactive. So sorry to all my past partners. But in all honesty, I wasn't choosing healthy people either. And that is a trait of fearful avoidance. You're going to choose someone who will create the pain that you felt in childhood and the chaos. Fearful avoidants are very likely to end up with narcissistic people or very highly avoidant people or highly anxious people, people on the far ends of the insecure spectrum, or another fearful avoidant, right? And we can go over what those different combinations look like in just a bit. But the fearful avoidant, like I said, they're trying to maximize connection and minimize pain. And so they do this dance where they come close and then they push away. And they might be more anxious, where they tend to come close more than they push away, or they may be more avoidant, where they push away more than they come close. But they tend to react in opposition to partners. So if a fearful avoidant is with an anxious, preoccupied partner, they will push further into avoidance. They will become more DA-like, more dismissive avoidant-like in their behavior, even though what underlies their avoidance is different than the dismissive. If a fearful avoidant is with a dismissive avoidant partner, they will push very anxious in the relationship. So they sort of act in opposition. And so I tended to choose narcissists and DAs. My whole relationship history was narc DA, narc DA, narc DA. And fearful avoidance, it's very common to go from a narcissist to a DA. I see that so much. I need to make another video about that because when I did it, it did really well because I think it's a very common experience.
Yeah, my pattern was a little bit different. I was mostly narc. Maybe with another FA thrown in there every once in a while.
Yeah, you had one DA thrown in there.
Yeah, one. Maybe two. Maybe two.
Oh, yeah, two. Yeah. My very first romantic relationship was with someone who was highly narcissistic. Highly narcissistic. And I think that early relationship experience when I was a teenager very much set me up and confirmed my betrayal wound and set me up for future narcissistic relationships. So unfortunately, our wounds become a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you're going to be betrayed, you're going to find somebody that's going to betray you. I promise you, right?
Sure.
We've said that. But I've lived that.
We want to take a minute and thank our sponsor of the Love Dog podcast, Cozy Earth. Thank you, Cozy Earth.
We love our Cozy Earth sheets. They are the softest, most luxurious sheets we have ever slept on. They are made from the viscose of bamboo, and I don't know how they create the magic that they do to create such a soft, silky, and temperature-controlled sheet, but they do it. And we are also such a fan of their pajamas, and they sent us a beautiful cuddle bubble blanket that is soft and warm and perfect for cuddling around the fire in this fall and winter season that we are in. So Cozy Earth, we thank you for being a sponsor of the podcast, and tell us, Raina, where we can find them at.
So if you go to cozyearth.com and put in promo code LOVEDOG, you can receive 20% off any item. And then if you fill out the post-purchase survey, they will also send you a free fuzzy pair of socks. And who doesn't love one free, two fuzzy, three warm, right around this time of year. So it's definitely getting chilly in Kentucky, and we just thank you so much, Cozy Earth.
The subconscious, unfortunately, desires to have its beliefs confirmed. That's how the brain works. It's called the confirmation bias. And the confirmation bias is very interesting. And a lot of people have heard this term, but they don't really understand what it means.
Yeah, explain it.
The confirmation bias is this idea, and it's a very prevalent human bias across nearly all humans in existence because it's a product of how the brain functions for efficiency, is that we will seek out information that confirms our beliefs, and we will disregard, tune out, ignore, or downplay information that does not confirm our beliefs because it feels good to be validated.
Right.
This is why ChatGPT is so dangerous
because
it's programmed to validate you.
Be careful with the AI because it'll validate.
And the people that created it know that.
Yeah.
You can ask ChatGPT if it's designed to validate you. It will tell you it is. And that's a dangerous thing.
It is.
You're living in your own personal echo chamber. So this really relates to that betrayal filter, where when you look at your relationship, instead of sort of seeing what's good about it or seeing your partner's behavior from a more objective lens, fearful avoidants always assume their partner has the absolute most malicious, worst intent in everything they do. Like, you did that to hurt me.
I still struggle with this, even inside my marriage. We were talking about it before the show, and it's because I was looking at some of your content this morning and, filtering through some of it. And one of them was, the behaviors of the FA. There's still so many small little nuances that I see even inside my marriage that I have to catch and correct.
Yes. And that's what security is about. It is, you'll get it right a lot of the time, but there are going to be times where you backslide and catch it correct. I will be very vulnerable with my audience. I am an expert in this. I've lived it. I teach it. It is my life. And I did a very FA thing. Not yesterday, but the day before. So let's go into a little side story. God bless my husband. I love him so much. He loves golf. I love golf. We both love golf, but unfortunately I'm not as good at golf as he is, and I just don't have time to golf as much as he does. He's a stay-at-home dad, which I'm the one that asked him to close his contracting business. He's a retired veteran, so he does have a very nice retirement. God bless the USA
And our veterans.
And our veterans, and thanking them for their service. But he could have been a was a very successful contractor and had his own business. And I asked him if he would mind to shut that down and simply support me because my business was growing so rapidly. I mean, you've seen it. You were there.
Yeah.
That our family with 4 children can't sustain both of us working. And I'm blessed enough that this business brings in enough income and he has retirement benefits that he gets, that was possible. So he was golfing, and it was on one of my long coaching days, and I'm having this back issue right now, and sitting definitely exacerbates it. So I was in a lot of pain, and I don't want to make excuses. I sound like I'm minimizing it. Not excuses, just background. And I was hungry, and I was grumpy. And he looked at the calendar wrong. So he looked at Monday instead of Tuesday. So we have this skylight calendar, that huge calendar that hangs on our wall, and everybody's stuff is in it because we couldn't function without it. So he's done golfing, and he looks at the calendar, and he's like, oh, she's not got a client right now, so she'll call me when she's got time. He didn't hear from me, so he calls me. Well, I'm with a client because he's looking at the wrong day. So he's thinking I'm just not answering. And he's like, well, she'll call you back when she can. She's not that busy. She's got a lighter load today. She's not that busy. Well, so then he decides to go to Brett's house. Which is your husband's really good friend.
Yeah.
And I would have preferred if he would have shot me a text and just said, hey, I'm going to Brett's house.
Yeah.
I'll be home, after 5. I'll cook dinner. Dinner's his thing. I can't cook. I can cook. I just don't enjoy it. He cooks. And where he was just assuming that, like, I was going to call him back. I couldn't call him back because I was with clients. I couldn't pick up the phone and call him back. So at 5 o'clock came around, and I'm like, where in the heck are you? Golf should have been over at like 2.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you called me. I'm with clients. Like, what in the heck? So, okay, this is the FA. You should know me.
Yeah.
You should have known my schedule.
Read my mind.
You should know exactly that if you didn't get a hold of me, you better be sending me a text because we communicate. I can look on Life 360. I know where the man's at, right? But I got very grumpy about that. Well, if you couldn't reach me, you should have sent me a text. So he comes home, and then he gets on Richmond Road traffic with his stalled car. So it takes him like an hour and a half to go 4 miles on Richmond Road. So he comes home. You can imagine the mood he's in after being Lexington traffic, guys, is like
it gets worse and worse every day.
It's so bad. And there's always construction. And so he's in his grumpy mode, and I'm in my grumpy mode. Two former FAs that are in a bad mood.
Watch out.
Strong fight response.
Yeah.
So fearful avoidants have a very strong fight trauma response, which is, I need you to desperately understand me. That's my greatest need.
And they will just bear it. I mean,
and we'll fight for it.
Yeah.
We'll fight for our position, for our reality.
They will double down.
Triple down.
Quadruple down.
Where have you been? And he's like, I sent you a text saying I was in traffic. And I was like, no, but where were you before that? And he's like, I stopped by Brett's. I tried to call you and let you know, but you didn't answer. I wasn't sure why you called me back. And I'm like, I'm with clients. He's like, you had a light load today. He's like, I looked at the calendar. And he pulls out his phone. And I'm like, you were looking at Monday. And I was just being a little too overly reactive. I was. But I started to notice it. And I started to back down. And I was like, okay, I'm getting upset.
Right.
Let me cool my jets a minute. So it was a catch and correct situation. I started into that big fight response, and I noticed it in my chest, and I noticed my body, and I brought myself back down. But I still did a very FA thing even after that, okay, which was there were these tiny little moments of misattunement in the past week because we have been incredibly busy with our children. We have 2
And work.
cheerleaders. And if you have a competition cheerleader, it is life. It is every day. It is every weekend. It is money. It is time. It is you eat and breathe it.
Yeah.
And I have 2 girls that are in different, one's in high school, one's in
Yeah, they're 7 years apart. That makes it
6 years apart. Yeah,
6 years. Yeah,
but of course, you know, the different competition schedules.
makes it hard.
Our son, our stepson, my stepson, his son is in wrestling. You know, Lily's got her sports going on. And so we are just exhausted. And it had been one of those weeks. And so what did I do? I looked back through my FA filter instead of using my tools to look through my objective filter. And I looked back through my FA filter, and I took all of these micro moments where I was a little irked, maybe like 3 different moments. Like when you didn't want to go to the gym with me and you played video games, or when this happened or when that happened. And I was like, I felt very abandoned this week. And that was, pardon my French, bullshit.
Yeah, so far from
Not
true.
so far from true.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I catastrophized. And so the FAs will
And you ruminated.
catastrophize. They will overgeneralize. They will think in black and white.
And they will ruminate.
And they will ruminate.
So they'll add layers to the stuff that's
Right.
like already happening,
Right.
which is basically what you did in that situation.
And what I did, and then I made myself the pressure cooker, which was instead
and a
of
victim.
and a victim, yes. And so instead of in those micro moments, me actually just speaking my truth, I was too exhausted, and I just told myself, that's not a big deal. Instead of being like, okay, like I'm fine if you don't want to go to the gym, but can we do something after? I didn't say that. I was like, well, I'm just going to go run errands. So Donald was like, I love you, baby, but I need you to ask yourself a question. I need you to ask yourself, are these decisions you made, or are these decisions I made that are making you unhappy right now? He's like, look back at those moments you're bringing up. Are those decisions you made? Because you didn't say, hey, let's do something after. I would have been like, absolutely, okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
But I thought you wanted to run your errands by yourself, so I played video games. Had I known you wanted to spend some time with me, absolutely,
Yeah.
would have been on board.
But you were expecting him to read your mind.
I was expecting him to read my mind, and I didn't speak my truth in the moment, which I have gotten good at doing as being a secure person. But your nervous system is a gas tank. It's a muscle, but there's also the gas tank analogy, and nervous system researchers kind of use these 2 analogies in parallel. When outside stressors start taking gas from your tank, there's not as much self-regulatory power to show up secure, right?
Makes
Because
sense.
secure attachment is based upon the idea of nervous system self-regulation. So my self-regulation gas tank was very low. So I didn't show up secure in those moments, which instead of minimizing my need and blowing it off and going shopping myself, I could have, and then just being a tiny bit irked about that and filing that in the file cabinet, I could have been like, hey, you know, I really want to spend time with you. It's Saturday. I don't have to work. You know, the kids are with grandma right now. Like, we can just hang out.
Yeah.
I really would have loved that. But instead, we chose to have independent time.
Yeah.
But I didn't speak up for myself. So what do I expect?
That's right.
And so what I did was I looked back on all those little moments, which there was probably about 3 different little moments throughout the week. And I said, I have felt so abandoned this week. And he's like, what? And he goes, okay, well, tell me, you know, how did I abandon you this week? I want to know. And I said, you didn't go to the gym with me like we always do on Saturday. You know, I had to run errands by myself because you wanted to play video games when like I didn't have to work.
I want to laugh so hard right now. Because like, I'm sorry, just listening to it, it's like it just is like a little baby crying for, and I do it too. I do all the same things, and it makes me laugh because hearing yourself repeat the things back that you thought you were mad about. You're like, really?
That's
what
it.
I was mad about?
Yeah,
That's
I know.
so silly.
Yeah, so an FA will blow it up and
Yeah.
catastrophize it,
Yeah.
right? And even in the moment, they may not have spoke their mind and put their truth out there and asked for what they needed. They will file it, and then they will hold a little resentment, and then it's gonna blow.
Yep.
You know, or that's what I call the long fuse or the pressure cooker FA, the one who's more avoidant. So if you had to choose Donald and I'm the more avoidant one, and he would be the more anxious one most of the time. It can flip flop, but overall we're very secure, right? We're talking about micro instances,
Right.
And then, so what ended up happening? He goes, "I need you to ask yourself: are those decisions you made or decisions I made? You didn't speak up. You know that I always tried, I do everything I can to meet your needs. I love you and I always will."
Yeah, and he does. I've seen it.
And I'm not a mind reader. I think I'm pretty good at attuning to you, but I'm not always going to get it perfect.
Right.
And so how fair is it to punish me over those moments where you didn't say what you needed? It'd be one thing if you said it and I said, "No, I'm not doing that. Screw you."
Right.
And I was like, "You know what? You're right." I said, "You're absolutely right, baby." I said, "I am so sorry." I said, "What I have just done is, one, didn't speak my truth in these moments this week. I think my tank was very empty. And two, I've catastrophized this."
Yeah.
What I really think I wanted to say to you from today with the whole going to Brett's and me, you being gone or whatever, was, hey, if you can't get a hold of me on the phone, just shoot me a text next time.
Yeah.
Just that way, when I'm done coaching, I'm not like, "Where's Donald?"
All right. Right.
Even though I could look on Life 360 and see everywhere he's been. But,
right. No, it's just being courteous.
So that was an FA thing. I stuffed down moments of resentment, even though they were micro things that I should never have even been resentful about, or I could have easily have just said, "Hey, but would you mind, I would really love to spend some time together.
Yeah.
Can we do that today?"
So talk about why the FA may be fearful to speak up in that way.
That's part of the fearful part of their attachment.
Yeah.
Afraid of rejection, desire to people please. Oftentimes when we have trauma, we had to shrink ourselves or go into people pleasing mode to not set off a dysfunctional parent. We are hypervigilant and oftentimes err towards what our partner wants, again, to try to stay, to maintain safe connection. It doesn't always feel safe to speak up and ask for what we need out of fear of rejection or out of a desire to overfunction and over-attune to our partners and give them what they need. Because if we give them what they need, then they won't abandon us.
Right.
So again, it's all about trying to avoid pain and maximizing connection. And FAs will do this in a lot of different ways. So fearful avoidants have very high trait variability, which means that one fearful avoidant is really not going to look like the next. Because if you have one that's very much more anxious versus very much more avoidant, they will look very different. And then we have some that sort of have equal anxiety and avoidance. So they're real push-pull.
Yeah.
Right?
Kind of me.
Yeah, their avoidance is just as high as their anxiety. I mostly was an anxious FA. I think in my relationship with Donald, we are secure in micro moments when we have to catch and correct. These smaller moments, maybe I would say 5% of the time.
Yeah, because you're human.
Yeah, 5% of the time. You're human. No person is 100% secure.
No.
Right? It's about secure people are able to, in the moments where they're not secure, catch it, correct it, take accountability for it. I've said it a gazillion times and make it right and repair it.
Yep.
And so I was vulnerable. I said, "I think what happened this week, and I want to take full accountability. I don't want to minimize this. So, but I do want you to understand me a little bit better," because we both desire to understand each other, right? I think my gas tank was just really empty this week, and I slipped back into just a few old little FA things. And I said, "That's not acceptable. And I take full responsibility. And, I hope you'll forgive me for, getting a little too heated. And I think that that's showing me where I need to pull back a little bit at work and where I need to remind myself, even in micro moments, to speak up for what I need."
Yeah, that's the big part.
And he's like, "Yeah, I think that's a good plan. I love you. No hard feelings. I love you.
Of course.
I'll always be here for you. You tell me what you need and I'll do what I can to meet that need."
Right.
And we have to make that promise to each other because he will do that to me. That's called a fawn. When you don't speak your truth and you just let somebody else have their way when you really need something or want something, you're fawning. You're just, it's like collapsing and giving in. And that's not to say that love isn't about compromise. It is.
Sure.
But there has to be a balance between I give and I also don't always abandon myself either.
Yeah.
I was really needing some connection on Saturday. And I think,
because we'd had a day, just the two of us before that.
yeah.
And didn't they play golf again?
Yeah, they played golf. Golf is life.
I know.
No, but my husband, he usually only plays once a week.
Yeah.
So it's like a doable thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we play together.
And
if
it's
we
been great. I think it's really been great for
it's been
Josh
so great.
and Donald to have that.
Can we? It's probably not socially acceptable to say their golf group name.
Oh yeah,
We'll avoid that.
Yeah, that's a secret. Well, if they want to talk about it, they can.
I want them to start a podcast.
Yeah, they should.
So
It'd be great.
bad because they're hilarious.
They are. Yeah, so different too. So similar, but so different.
And I love that our husbands are becoming good friends.
Me too.
Because it just brings us as a unit.
Then we can do things and do things together. And
we need
as
to have
y'all's children get older
night.
And we have more time on our hands.
Yeah.
Then things will we can travel more and
So I had an FA moment, but the pain that FAs experience are those moments of like, I dropped my boundaries and I didn't speak up for what I needed. And so then now I'm just going to stuff it down and create resentment. And then it's going to build and build and build and build. And then it's going to blow. And then I'm going to air all of my grievances onto my partner and I'm going to catastrophize the whole situation.
When really they're mad at themselves.
Resentment is not a function of your partner not giving you what you need. It's a function of you not holding a boundary around what you need or speaking up for what you need.
Yep.
So if you have resentment, you need to forgive yourself.
Yeah. For sure.
It's not, you think you need to forgive your partner. Yes, you do. But most importantly, you need to forgive yourself.
Yeah.
Because you were too scared to hold a boundary because you were too afraid of being rejected for asking for what you needed and how that would feel for you.
Yeah. I do want to talk a little bit about the fearful avoidant in the dating phase.
Yeah.
Because I think, it's difficult. It's so difficult in the dating phase for a lot of FAs.
Very difficult.
Because they do fear betrayal so highly that, it's hard to allow them to get close to someone. I know I really struggled with this. In my entire dating career, I would say that I really, really struggled.
Some of their pain in the dating phase is that they drastically overthink and they play enormous amount of manipulative games.
Yeah.
Enormous amount of games. They may try to make somebody a little jealous. Coaches that are very dysfunctional out there in the game will call it competition anxiety. It's fine if you give a scientific term for it, but it's manipulation.
Yeah.
Making someone jealous isn't healthy. They will pull back and make someone quote unquote miss them. How's that going to work out in a long-term relationship? If somebody only likes you when you go away, how is that going to work out?
Yeah.
It's not. So they are very unintentionally manipulative, both in the dating and relationship phase. But I think in the dating phase, they're too scared of really putting themselves out there. And so again, they will do it just enough and then maybe hide pieces or parts of themselves.
Yes.
Or they will go very, very anxious and try to see what do they want from me? What do they need from me? How can I be that person? They share that with the AP a little bit, although the AP is like that 100% of the time. The FA can be like that a little bit, be a chameleon.
It's like you said that one time. The FA is like this fear of being too much and not enough all at the same time.
All the freaking time. I love that you just said that.
Yeah.
It is the pain of always being like, am I too much or not enough?
Yeah.
Too much or not enough?
Yeah.
And when they're avoidant, they're told they're not enough. And when they're anxious, they're told they're too much.
It's been my whole life. That's how I felt.
And Dahl and I feel that. And Dahl and I had that conversation the other day of just how painful it is.
Yeah, it is.
And how we don't want to do that to each other.
And not just in romantic relationships, your friendships, I've always felt like, am I too much? Am I too much in this friendship? Am I too loud? Am I too, all these things that I've just questioned.
I can look back at my whole life. And although it very much comes out more in our behavior, in our romantic relationships, in our heart, in our minds, it's sort of everywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah. Work. right now
in front of you in this moment.
in this podcast. But, am I too much? Am I not enough? Am I too much? Am I not enough?
Yeah. Are we going to get a review that says you say too much?
Yeah.
You say right too much.
That's why I've just decided, okay, I'm just going to stay quiet.
No, I don't want you to shrink yourself.
I know. I'm working on it.
Do you know the people that are super fans of this podcast, and we do have some.
Yeah.
And, maybe they're a handful. I don't know. Maybe they're a lot. I don't know. But we hear from them sometimes and they're like, please just be you.
Yeah.
Because authenticity is the most regulating thing to the human nervous system. And FAs are everything but authentic.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because you can't be authentic if you're always questioning, am I too much or not enough? And how can I be just enough? And how can I twist myself in the right type of pretzel to be the right amount for you?
How can I please Shirley, who lives in Wisconsin, who said I say and write too much? That is not a real person that said that. I'm just throwing a hypothetical name out there.
And it's hard. You haven't had as much exposure as me.
Right.
This is your first real being exposed.
For sure.
And this is not my first go around.
Yeah.
I had a lot of exposure on social media before we started this podcast. And I remember the first time I cried over social media hate. I was like, I tried to show a version of myself. I remember the video. This was a video. My daughter was in 6th grade and she was in Algebra 1. So my daughter's very advanced, has always been in advanced classes, taking AP classes. She's very high IQ, very gifted student. She's twice exceptional, so she's gifted and ADHD. And she had an algebra exam coming up. It was the night before the exam. She hadn't really studied. And she comes to me. She had gone to bed. I hugged her, kissed her. She went good night to sleep. I told her good night. And she comes and finds me at 11 p.m. She said, Mom, I didn't study very hard for my algebra test, and I'm actually really confused. And can you sit with me and go over some of this stuff? You have 2 attempts at this exam. So this was attempt 1. You have to learn to ask for help before you're drowning. That's a real important life lesson, baby. And I said, this is what we're going to do. You're better off getting sleep and trying your best than you are me trying to look up algebra at 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
And I said, you're going to have to go to bed and you're going to have to take the hit on this one. I said, but guess what? You get another chance. So if this one doesn't go well, I will sit down with you. I will try to figure it out with you and I will try to help you study for the next one, which I thought was incredibly fair.
Yeah.
And actually teaching someone that you escalating being upset, you sort of escalating your intensity is not going to make me cave and drop a boundary when it's both our time to go to bed and get sleep. And that's important for our health. So I made a video about this on social media because I was starting to dabble again into secure parenting. And I set a boundary. No, you're not going to come at 11 o'clock at night, force me to try to look up algebra on the internet. We're going to stay up till 1 or 2 in the morning. You have to get up at 6:30 for school, and you're going to be exhausted and probably do poorly on the test because of exhaustion. That's not a good plan.
No.
And I don't want to raise someone who's narcissistic enough to think if you escalate distress, you're going to get me to cave my boundaries. That's what her dad did.
Yeah.
That's a function of narcissism.
Yeah.
Not that she is narcissistic, but children can test the waters and use some narcissistic strategies like elevating distress to get you to drop your boundaries. And so I talked about this on social media, and the amount of visceral hate I got of how dare you not help your child when she is in need? How dare you tell your child you wouldn't be there for them? It is the job of the parent to let the child know you will always be there for them. And I'm like, you realize I said she gets 2 attempts on this exam, right? And my comments were full of hatefulness
And so
of
then,
how
of
what
course,
a terrible parent I was.
Yeah, and that's tough. Like we all question our parenting as it is.
That was a big wound.
So when the world is questioning it, it's harder.
My first husband would always tell me, you're a terrible mother. Because when I would go to him and say, I'm drowning, I need a break, can I just go will you take the baby so I can go take a shower? I feel disgusting, and she'll cry. If I lay her down, she's going to cry. Can you just hold her while I take a shower? You're a terrible mother. I'm going to the gym. And I already told so-and-so I was going to the gym. Figure out how to take a shower. Every other mother does it. What's wrong with you? So that really hit a wound when I saw those comments. And I bawled my eyes out to my husband. And my husband, he comforted me and he empathized with me. And he said, baby, if you're really going to do this, though, I need you to realize that that's Satan. And he's going to come for you and he's going to try to pull you out of your mission.
Yeah.
And he said, so are you going to let strangers on the internet keep you from your mission? Because you know what your heart and your intent was at that post, and you're not wrong. If Gabby fails that test, I know you. You're going to be there, and you're gonna have a plan for attempt 2. You're not leaving her drowning. You're teaching her that
a valuable
lesson to prepare and to ask for help before the last minute.
Boundaries.
And setting a boundary for your health and well-being for her and you.
Yeah.
He said those people and those comments are wrong. They're wrong.
Yeah, and they don't know.
They're like, permissive parents.
Yeah, and they assume the worst.
And so, and it was after that day that I realized this is not going to be an easy task of putting myself out there.
Well, and I've even struggled. It's not even with the comments, that have come in that are about me. I struggle with the comments that come in about you because I'm super protective of the people I love. And so I remember when I first started, you had that big viral video. And there were some really nasty
30 million on Twitter.
Yeah, really, really nasty comments.
Sure.
Just ugly comments about your looks and about trivial things.
How I needed a nose job. Yeah, we all know, okay? And guess what?
I think you have a beautiful
I have a breathing disorder, I found out.
You're beautiful.
And so if I want to get that fixed, I might just make it look different too. Who knows? I don't know. I haven't decided yet.
Right. But I remember some of those comments were dysregulating to me. And, Josh kind of had to walk me through this in the beginning because I call it my redneck side, but it truly is my FA side.
It's the FA side.
Where I'm just like,
the fight
can
response.
You believe that so-and-so said this, and I'm like, I'm always going to read a text or anything somebody says in like the most negative tone.
Right.
And
there's your betrayal filter.
Yeah. And so I
do that too. Donald's like, you and Raina assume somebody is like, yelling at you in a text message. They're not using all caps. They're not using exclamation points.
There's a Key and Peele. I don't know if you know those comedians.
Yeah,
but
I do.
Yeah, they do a whole bit on that. It's hilarious. But Josh sent it to me the other day. I'll show it to you after we're done because Josh sent it to me the other day. He was like, "Oh my gosh, this is you." Where it's like,
I'm like, can you believe he said I will be there at noon? Gosh,
how dare you with an exclamation point?
Thanks for the response. I'll be arriving at noon. Looking forward to seeing you.
Yeah.
No, okay, that's an FA thing.
Yeah,
so that's the betrayal filter. I
struggled with that too.
But where the pain came in that video about my daughter was that the deepest need of the fearful avoidant is to be understood. So to be misunderstood is the biggest betrayal.
Yeah. It is.
And I felt so misunderstood in the comments of that video. What I was trying to say was, I want my daughter to learn that boundaries are healthy. I want her to take care of her health and well-being. I want her to learn to ask for help before she's drowning. But I also do want her to know that I will always be there for her. But part of being a secure parent, I have learned, is allowing your child to sit in the discomfort of their own choices and to experience the natural consequences of their own choices, which in this case was being ill prepared for a test, but also know that I'm still here. Yeah. I love you. I'm not going anywhere. And you may have to face that bad grade, but you're still loved. You're still accepted. And how can we do it different next time to succeed? And to me, that is secure parenting. And I damn 100%. know, I know it's secure. I damn well know it's secure parenting.
Yeah.
Pardon my French. God has not convicted me over cuss words yet.
No.
We're working on it.
Yeah. They did that study, highly intelligent people cuss or whatever.
Well, damn it. Thank you. I try not to. I try to minimize it, but I think it's whatever's in your heart. My heart is not ill intent right now. It's just to emphasize the point that those comments were coming from very broken, permissive parents that would trip over themselves to make sure their child doesn't feel an ounce of discomfort. And that is not doing your child any good, because then they learn,
or our future,
they learn that discomfort is intolerable.
Yeah.
And life is full of discomfort.
Yeah,
and we just talked about last episode about processing emotions is all about sitting in the discomfort and still knowing you're safe. Well, secure parents give that to their children by providing safety while their children experience discomfort.
Yeah. And I know you've mentioned this before. Remind me. So Gabby and JP's generation, is that Gen Z?
They're Gen Z.
So aren't they saying that Gen Z's like more avoidance are coming
Yes.
from? Okay.
12% increase in dismissive avoidance.
And do you think that that's, and I know we did a whole episode on, attachment and generational, the different generations, but do you think that that is because of social media?
Yes. I think it is two things. One, it allows connections to be more surface level. They have FaceTime parties instead of sleepovers now. They do. My daughter will sit alone in her room and she'll have a group FaceTime going on.
Yeah.
Instead of real interpersonal connection.
It's why they don't want to get their driver's license. And remember, I couldn't wait to get my driver's license at 16.
Oh, I don't know. Gabby's already studying she was already studying for her permit test.
A lot of teenagers I've learned don't want to get their driver's license.
She takes her permit test in 2 months.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
I know.
That's wild.
I know. I'm going to have to buy her a car in 2 months.
That's wild.
Because she is not driving my car and she is not driving Donald's truck.
That is wild. Yeah. And I would have just assumed, my brain went to the fact that, I feel like there is so much unresolved pain with that generation.
So much. They were raised by the Gen Xers. They were raised by millennials that were raised by the boomers. And I'm so sorry, boomers, but you created so much pain in your children.
Yeah, you did.
I think it was because they were raised by the greatest generation who went through the Great Depression. So they were just freaking maxed out. Their nervous systems were freaking shot from living off of potatoes for 15 years, right? Or whatever. And then the boomers their nervous systems were shot from hide under their desks for preparing for nuclear attacks when the Cold War was going on and the JFK getting shot and brains blown out on live TV. Yeah. I mean, each generation experiences trauma. And then the millennials, we have lived through every freaking disaster
everything
that could possibly happen.
Yeah, we're the generation
financial
that's
collapse,
actually, I feel like,
9/11.
Yeah, we've brought this awareness around mental health.
But the millennials are the first generations to try to be cycle breakers.
Yeah.
The Gen Xers couldn't do it. And so the older millennials, myself included, we are not as much part of the cycle breakers as the younger millennials are. So younger millennials, those of you in your 30s right now, I praise you. You are doing amazing work. You are bringing secure parenting to the forefront. And I am hoping, and those are the kids with the Gen Alphas.
Yep.
So I am praying that Gen Alpha is going to be a turnaround.
I think so.
And I'm about crying because I have a Gen Alpha too. Yeah. I have a little, why do I always cry on my podcast? And oh my gosh, I just knocked off.
That's okay.
My little podcast holder here. Hold on. I don't know how it goes back. Oh, here it is. Okay. I'm not crying on this episode, not because I'm not processing my emotions, but I will process them after. I just want to get down to business. And so the pain of fearful avoidance.
Yeah, let's go back to that because there's a whole episode on the generational thing. So
Yeah,
you can go
we don't want to repeat ourselves too much and go back to a previous episode. But the pain of fearful avoidance lies so much in the desperate need to be deeply understood and feeling like no one ever has.
Yeah.
And it's for them, it's the reason that they get so hurt in their relationships is because it's you should know me so deeply that you can predict my needs, that you can meet my needs exactly how I need them without me having to ask. If I have to ask, it doesn't count. And when you don't do that, it feels like a betrayal.
Yeah.
And when you criticize me, it's not like the dismissive avoidant that feels defective, judged, and attacked. The FA feels deeply misunderstood.
Yeah.
So they will fight to be understood. They will beat the dead horse in conflict. Some of them will, not all of them. Again, highly variable traits. I am a beat the dead horse type of person. I will repeat myself 50,000 times if I do not check my triggers, if I do not use my tools, and I do not stay in my secure space. I will repeat myself. I will tell Donald 50 times what he did wrong.
Yep.
And he can apologize 50 times, and I will need it 51.
I will repeat myself over just the most trivial thing. If I'm just trying to get a point across, I don't even have to be in conflict.
Yeah.
If I'm just simply trying to get my point across, I will say it over
I'm a repeater.
and over.
I do it on the podcast.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I know that so many people out there are probably dealing with a lot of childhood trauma. And I think what's so beautiful about your practice is that because it's a coaching practice, a lot of these FAs don't necessarily have to come in and hash these really painful things
relive
out.
it all to fix it.
Right, because you already know, right? You already know. So you don't have to I think that, and we thought about doing a whole episode on like the difference between therapy and coaching, which we might do, but I think that it's so beautiful because they don't have to relive this. You can just give them very prescriptive tools on how to fix it. Mm-hmm. And so I think if you're listening right now and, you know, this episode relates to you and you're like, oh my gosh, this is me.
Yeah. Do you test trust? Do you move the goalpost? Do you repeat yourself in conflict?
So
Do you have a strong
things.
fight response? Do you want to be understood?
Yeah.
Do you expect your partner to predict your needs? Well, welcome to being a fearful avoidant.
Yeah.
I would love to help you out.
That's right. And she definitely can. And I think that your testimonies are speak for themselves on that. And I mean, even for me, and just the short year and a half that we've been doing the podcast, it's been really helpful. It's been so helpful for some of those lingering FA traits that I still have that I'm able to more easily recognize than I could even a year and a half ago.
Yeah, and have the tools to just calm it down.
Yeah, yeah.
And move through pain effectively.
Yeah,
FAs can't move through their pain. They hold
not
it.
shame myself because of it. Like
gosh,
where I
FAs
used,
have such
you know,
deep shame.
I used to do that a lot. Like if I would make a mistake and know that it was a mistake,
I do too.
then I would just kind of beat myself up over it. And I'm, you know, learning not to do that anymore.
Yeah, if I made a mistake at work
5
years ago, I would be mortified.
Oh my
I would
gosh.
think about it for days and days.
Days and days.
And it could have been something so stupid. Like
Silly.
I didn't copy somebody on an email.
Now I'm like, if somebody done, if somebody ain't done it, everything's fine.
Everything is fine. Thank goodness for that.
Yeah, everything is fine.
Raina, we joke that her job now is to just piss out fires.
That's it. That's basically my job. But I wouldn't have it any other way. I am so grateful. And we are so grateful for each and every one of you all. Please continue to tune in. Like we always say, I do want to give a quick shout out to my sister, Rachel Berry. If you are watching this episode on YouTube, the earrings I am wearing were designed by Rachel Berry Design.
She is so talented as a jewelry designer.
Yeah, and she's very crafty. I like to think that all the Fullard girls are very crafty and creative. But
2 out of the 3 Fullard girls work for the Love Doc.
That's right. But Rachel Berry Design, you can go see. She just dropped her whole entire Christmas shop on her earrings. There's some really, really great ones. You can see her at rachelberrydesign.shop. So,
and she spells it like Rachel L.
Yes,
like there's
A-E-L.
A-E-L.
Yes, A-E-L. And then, of course, we just want to thank you guys. We love you guys
so much.
Please write to us. Leave us a review. Continue to tune in. There's so much more to come. We are so excited to keep doing this week after week. And the reason that we get to is because of you. So thank you.
Thank you so much for listening.
Yes. And until next time, peace, love, and perspective.